You know, it's so hard to try to judge what kind of a day it was when you're going against, you're going against Georgia, and you're working, your first, second, and sometimes your third units, and just a lot of guys getting a lot of reps, and it's hard to look super sharp at that time when in reality we're only trying to get one group of 11 on the field at a time on each side of the ball as we go along, so we'll be honing that down as we go. Minus all the little things that can get you beat, the jumping off sides and a bad snap. Those kind of things are frustrating. Even though it's spring, we're practice 13 right now. We should be doing a little bit better in that regard. But when things were executed properly offensively, it was pretty to watch, no doubt. And defensively, I thought the guys, for the most part, played well together as a unit, tackled well, had some good balls batted down the line of scrimmage. A couple plays might have been a sack. One or two I think I'd have called a sack and probably efficient, but we did ask them to let them play as much as possible, with the quarterbacks not being live, so I think that we got out of it what we needed. It's one of those days where until you watch the film, you can't really judge who did what. To a certain degree, a lot of things happening for me too, working from the sideline up to the radio and TV booth and missing some things along the way. So I'll do the best I can to answer any questions you have, and we'll all get out of this sweat box.
The quarterbacks, they had a lot of pressure on them at times. How you would evaluate each one's performance?
Right. Well, there's going to be pressure on the quarterback. There's going to be, in the game, the pocket's going to get tight on them at times, and so now you've got to make good decisions by throwing the ball away, hitting the check down, or even taking a sack from time to time. And a couple times they took sacks, and sometimes that's the best decision made. You can't really control your rush, but what you have to do is trust your protection every time. Even if you get sacked 3 times in a row, you got to drop back believing that your protection is going to be there. And it wasn't that bad. I'm not saying that, but in the mentality of the quarterback and how we teach them, you must trust your protection every time, because once you decide you're going to start watching the rush and try to decide if it's good enough protection to stand in there, you just make too many mistakes, and you will get a bunch of sacks and make a bunch of bad decisions. But overall, talking about Bryce, for me to sit here and grade him, like I said, I missed a bunch of plays as I was going up and down stairs. He did make some nice plays. I think he, overall, in the spring, I can probably talk in more generalities of the spring. I think he's done a very good job of studying what to do, getting us in the right protections, getting us in the right hot and side adjustment situations. I think he's been really pretty accurate throughout the spring football practices to this point. Fatone has also been a guy that has worked extremely hard to get a comfort level with everything that Coach Schotte's trying to teach him. And I think he got better and better as the spring went along. Jacob ran more reps with the 2 and 3 units, but you can see his arm talent, you can see his ability, and I think this summer is going to be crucially important for him. All of them really, but I think the more he gets comfortable with the system, the better he'll compete. But I think it's still a race. I don't think there's any question that it's going to go through the summer and fall before we make a decision on who that guy is to start the first ball game.
But could that battle come down to ultimately who protects the football better? I know you're talking about with Hudson.
Well, we do need to protect the ball. I mean, we can't be so cautious that we don't, make plays downfield. But it's just there's certain times when if you do go deep, the ball's got to be thrown. First of all, where it's catchable by somebody, and then also it's got to be thrown in such a way where we have the best chance of making the play. And then there's going to be times when the deep ball, there's no reason to go deep, but you got to be smart enough to drop it down to a check down. And we're seeing more and more of that. Guys are starting to figure that out, making the right decisions. But the thing that I know is going to keep a guy from being the man is if they are making decisions that are putting the ball in harm's way, you know, down after down after down, scrimmage after scrimmage. That won't cut it. And I don't think we're at that point, but there have been enough of those throughout the spring that I'm not confident yet that everybody has gotten the memo, so to speak. But the thing of it is, if we force a guy, if we get guys afraid to throw it down the field, we're not going to be very good. So we're going to throw it down the field. We're going to stretch defenses, and we just got to, when we do make that throw, it's got to be with the right purpose in mind. It's got to be with the right accuracy.
As a receiver, I know you got some questions coming in, and you want some good guys, so, you know, of course, McKenzie, you know, going out real early, so how do you feel about the receivers?
Well, we're just very, very thin at receiver right now. We were very thin when the spring began. We're thinner now. And that's the one position where you can't really be short on numbers because of the volume of running that they do. And ultimately, now that was the third hamstring at that position. And a lot of times that's what happens when you get a high volume of reps and route running. But we, you know, everybody should be healthy in the fall. We got some more young men that we signed that are coming in to help bolster that group. And so our numbers should be fine when the fall begins, and they shouldn't be under the gun like they were a little bit this spring with not enough guys really to manage it.
Mark, I know you haven't studied film, but from what you see of Bryson Fitton today, does something, the third scrimmage change any opinion you have on their capabilities?
Not their capabilities. I mean, they're both capable, and I think Jacob is too. I really do. It's just, you know, has anybody mastered their craft yet? No. But it's not expected right now, really. But we get a high amount of repetitions in practice and in scrimmages, and we keep grading and we keep teaching and they keep learning. I mean, unless somebody stood in that pocket with all these guys flying around, you know, your face and batting balls down and trying to knock your head off, and then you're trying to make decisions. What coverage is it? What's my progression? Is he open? Is he open? Is he, you know, if it's a blitz, who am I throwing hot to? Communicating who's the Mike linebacker in the run game. I mean, there's so many things they have to do and process. I just can't expect them to be there yet, but they're getting there. I see great progress. I'm very encouraged. I know Coach Schottenheimer is a really good teacher. I mean, as I'm sitting in almost, you know, most of the quarterback meetings. So I hear what's being said, I see what's being processed, I see improvement, and I think they're all going to get there. It's just, it takes a little time.
How many times, how often did they make the same mistake? Did y'all get to the point where you got frustrated with it at all? Or
there's so many variables to say. I don't know if you could make the same exact mistake twice in a row sometimes, just because there's, you know, you may call the same play, but it may be a different coverage. You may call the same play and it's the same coverage, but the center got beat by the nose guard, and when you should have been protected, you weren't. Well, the next time it might be a certain blitz that forces you to be hot over here. Next time it might be a blitz where it forces you to be hot over there. I'm talking about the same play.
Right.
So, you know, there's just so many variables, it's hard to make the exact same mistake, but I mean, is it possible to hold the ball too long? Is it possible to throw the ball into traffic, you know, more than once? Yeah, but it's, again, it's one of the hardest things to master in football for sure, and then probably in just about all the sports. I don't know if there's any position like quarterback that takes time, and you know, this was a practice. It was a practice game, but it was a practice. Mistakes are made in practice, and you correct. But you know, if anybody's ever mastered a skill, they usually do it and make a mistake and adjust, and do it, make a mistake and adjust, make a mistake, correct it, and little by little you get to where you don't make many. But even the greatest pro quarterbacks still throw picks, still make bad balls, bad decisions. You just can't make a bunch of them and expect to win a job.
Do you agree with Nick when he says, I mean, he seems to have said this like 5 times this spring, we're at Georgia, we're going to run the ball.
Oh, we're going to run the ball. We're going to throw it too. And if Nick's here, we'll run it.
Mark,
We got some good backs, no doubt. We're serious about running, play action, passing. I want people to know that we can get physical.
Mark, I know it's long off, but do you want and expect to have a clear
I would hope to. I would hope to say, this is the guy going into the very first ball game. But the last time I can remember was probably year one when we had Phillips and Green. We were going to let, I think Green took 2 series, I think Phillips took 2 series, and we were going to kind of go from there. And as it turned out, I think Green hit 8 or 9 or 10 passes in a row. He just kept winning, So I mean, there's a possibility that could happen. And then I'd say this too, whoever wins the job is got to start playing and proving it was a good decision too. So I think everybody better stay alive and know that they're in the race until it settles into something really playing to the point where we have a solid #1.
You started this spring with the quarterbacks, taking turns with the ones. With Ramsey starting today with the first team, was that just his turn, or was it?
It was his turn in the scrimmages. He was the first one and the third one, which was this one. Until started with the ones in the scrimmage too.
Coach, I know Keith Marshall has been practicing the past couple days, but he didn't go out today. What's going on?
Just we didn't think his hamstring could, we didn't think it was wise to go open up full speed and play a live game. We got him in controlled drills and we didn't. He practiced, but he didn't practice the whole practice through.
Mark, I guess yesterday with the announcement of the spring award winners, Colton Houston being the offensive MVP, given his ordeal, his first 3 years here, did you ever think? I'm excited for Colton. I think it was well-deserved honor. And these things, you got to take some of these awards with a grain of salt. I mean, it's just 11 days of practice, but he has been a very good leader for us. He's fought through a lot of adversity. He practiced well, and we just appreciate that. Some guys, not many guys get a 6th year, and a lot of them don't want a 6th year, but here he is, wanting to play one more time and wear that red and black and put the G on the hat and do it. I think it says a lot about his character, and we appreciate it.
Coming in the offensive line, you kind of replaced the 3-year starter at the center. Aside from the first shotgun snap, what did you see? What have you seen from spring?
Well, Isaiah Wynn has been getting better as he goes. That snap is kind of what it looked like week 1, and we were having too many of those in the beginning. But then the next 2 weeks, he really settled down. Well, they weren't just perfect, but they weren't out of the frame of the quarterback where he could get them. There's obviously, we got to get sharper in that area. We're going to work Kublano some at that position. Want to make sure we got at least 3 guys that can do it. Hunter Long was very solid. He worked some with the 1s, he worked some with the 2s, and he snaps the ball well. He knows what to do. He was kind of a calming effect for the 2 unit. When he went to the 2 unit, it really helped the rest of those guys because he really understood the calls, and he was helping other guys around him, where Isaiah, not as comfortable with that, but he had veteran guys around him to help him, so it worked out better. So I'm not counting Hunter out of the race either, but Isaiah has the talent base. He's kind of like those quarterbacks. Got the talent base, got the skill set, needs the experience, got to prove he can handle the responsibility of that job.
Mark, Natras has been a college student, I guess, for about 3 months, and a college football player for about 3 weeks.
Right.
I know you were moving around, and of course, he's in a position where he's going to, roll up some numbers, but what do you think about his performance?
Middle linebacker, you play inside linebacker, you should make some hits and some tackles. But I think he's really, I think it's a good fit for him. I'm not going to speak for Jeremy and Coach Eckler as to where he'll ultimately end up, but I think they like what they've seen. I know I've liked what I've seen as an inside linebacker. I think it's really fitting him well. And Chooks Amici was he started inside, went outside, where Natras started outside, went inside. And that was part of the plan, just to see them both work on both skill sets. And I do think Chooks is probably better on the outside, and I think Natras is better on the inside.
How many recruits do you think y'all have?
All I know is we had tables outside of the green Bay. It's the largest crowd I can remember us having. I don't know the total, and there's total recruits, and then obviously there's some extremely
Last question, Coach, for the outside linebackers, what we saw from them today, has that been pretty indicative of how it's gone all spring for those guys rushing off the edge?
Yeah, they're really good at what they do in that regard, and there's been some, I mean, Colton and Theus have, you know, handled them at times. You know, some days they had a good day, some days they didn't. But, yeah, those guys can come off the edge. They got a lot of ability, and the big thing for them is, you know, how are they playing first and second? And that's the things that we're trying to get better at.
Thank you.